moving from joining the company as technically the only person in my team at the time, and then being able to grow the team, showing my leadership skills, and then also kind of being a continuous student. So another thing is the company also identified some people who were already on the track to management. And so we got some training as a result of that. And so that helped also provide me with the skills and the knowledge for me to be able to move and to be able to advance within the company. I think the biggest thing that many people see is obviously, like Toby said, people get into middle management, and it's relatively clear what you need to get into middle management, right? But it's not so clear, or you spend more time in middle management before you're able to now make that jump into senior leadership. While I am still in technically middle management in Flutterwave, I think I've been able to, I oscillate between, because I did the interim head of marketing and stuff like that. But my journey was kind of defined by, I would say, a few pivotal moments where I was able to showcase kind of my strategic thinking and the value to the company, either in a crisis situation or in a situation where there was a gap in leadership. I was able to step in, I was able to take ownership, and then also essentially communicate my value. Showing the right relationships, being a great representative of the company. That's another thing, is like being able to be a great representative of the company and being able to make decisions, or show that you can make decisions, communicate that you can make decisions that will not be detrimental to the company. So those were like I wanted to, just generally speaking, without going into too many specifics, that's how I was able to kind of, also the relationship with management or senior management as well as senior leadership is a big one. You don't really move within a company without some advocates at the top. And it's your relationship with them, identifying them as your stakeholders, identifying them and being able to communicate what you're doing. I think that's another thing that I had to learn, was that I had this assumption in my head that my boss knew everything that was happening, right? But obviously, they don't know the day to day. And so sometimes you have to kind of start storytelling the work that you're doing, start like communicating the work that you're doing, sharing that with senior leadership, right? And communicating the value of what you're doing, which then helps position you for moving up into senior leadership. That's kind of been my experience.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Two things stood out for me. You said storytelling. So whenever anybody hears storytelling, you're just thinking about external audiences. But you also need to realize that your first stakeholders are your internal stakeholders, which includes your colleagues, your supervisors, your managers. You need to tell them, they need to be aware of what you're doing. Another thing that you also said was that you need advocates, which are AKA sponsors, if you want to talk about it. You know, we're always talking about, oh, you need mentorship. But really not much is really said about how you can get sponsors. A mentor will tell you what to do. A sponsor will drag you into the room. And a lot of us need to start realizing that sponsorship is actually very important when you're trying to progress in your career from junior to middle to senior management. Thank you so much for your contribution. Oyinko, I want to move to you. So what would you say your own personal journey has been, because you're in the investment space, financial finance, and I think that's a bit more cutthroat, if I may say. So tell us share how you've been able to do that, moving from middle management to senior leadership.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here, to be able to share. And I think for me, the journey, just like, it started with me joining in corporate comms, and I think the role was actually created because I joined the firm. And then subsequently, just by making myself, making my ideas known, making myself seen, I think it's important that, when you're, amongst your colleagues, the ability to make your impact felt. So leadership is not just about, a title. It's about, creating impact, making impact. How can you bring, your skills on board to, to help others, to support others, in their, in achieving their aims. I think it's really important to be able to harness, your all your, abilities, your tasks, your, being able to empathize, with other people, being able to, like we said yesterday, being able to just, read the room and see, how are things progressing, is there something that I can do differently? So just being a leader is not just about, the title, is about, really being able to harness everything to support your colleagues, also being able to relate with everyone, so when you're in an organization, like we said, the internal stakeholders, which are your colleagues, also external stakeholders, but your colleagues, you would have your junior colleagues, you have senior colleagues, but being able to, to communicate at all across board, I think is really important. It's part of the journey. So being able to manage your managers, I think that's one thing that a lot of people, forget to think about, but just being able to, to know the people that you work with and to, create the room, understand, all of those things are very, very critical. I think, soft skills as well, helps you to grow. So we all know that we have two ears. My boss usually says you have two ears and a mouth. It's basically for you to listen more. I think when you're able to listen more, that was one of the things that I got told, when I started, when you can't listen. So when I started listening, I think, that changed the game for me. So being able to put all of these resources together would, help to position you for leadership roles. I'll stop at that for now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. So knowing how to read the room, having empathy, being very understanding that there's a nuance in how you relate to your internal stakeholders, knowing how to manage your managers. Those are all very salient points and actually just reinforces my understanding because I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to
I think there's something wrong with the audio and with the
it looks like it's frozen.
Okay, so I think the last thing that I actually forgot to say was, I've also, being able to, speak up for yourself, advocate for yourself. I think generally that is actually quite key. I hope the network comes back.
Yeah, I don't know if Joy is on.
Joy, are you there?
Hi everyone. Toby's dialing back in internet issues. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know. Is it me?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like it's you. I think it's Toby's internet that is, she's reconnecting, it looks like.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully she comes back soon.
Hi, while we'll wait for Toby, I guess we can start now. Good to Yemi. So if you can share your journey into the role you're currently occupying.
Hi,
Okay.
guys. Hi. So sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The internet. So I apologize. So I'm so sorry about that breaking transmission. So I was about to say, Yemi, can you please just give us your own journey from middle management to senior leadership? What were the things that you had to do? Just share your journey with us if you can.
Sorry, who? I didn't hear. Who did you call?
Okay, so I said, I called you, Yemi. I said, could you share your own journey from middle management to senior leadership?
Okay. Well, Toby, you really know my history, actually. So, but I'll just talk a bit about that. So I started off as hi guys. First of all, hi. Thank you for allowing me share on this platform. I think it's an honor for me to be here. And special hello to everyone that's listening as well. Right. Okay, for me, I started as a copywriter. I might have to actually qualify that. I started as a copywriter who really wasn't sure what copywriting was all about at that time, right? And at some point, when I realized that this was the path I wanted to take, because I mean, creativity is not something for the faint-hearted. You really have to have a passion for it if you're going to go far, right? So when I realized this was what I really wanted to do, the first thing I needed to do was to build my skill set. However, when I got to, middle management in the advertising world, I knew I needed to scale myself up in order for me to go higher. And for me to do that, it first of all started with a mindset shift, really. I had to, it's from being an executioner, that's someone who just, they give you the brief and then you knock out the concepts and the copy, to actually thinking from a more strategic perspective, right? Making sure that I kept the business objectives in focus, because as a creative, it's actually very easy for you to get lost in your creativity, right? And you look at you come up with stuff and you think, oh, this is good, it's great, it's gonna win awards and all of that. And then the client has a different mindset and the client is thinking something entirely different. And then you find that, creatives and clients end up clashing. You get, because the creatives are like, you don't understand what I'm trying. Can't you see that this is a dope idea? And the client is thinking 3 letters, ROI. Where's my money coming back from? So I needed to have like a shift in my mindset. Secondly, I had to build trust, right? I mean, it's easy to build trust internally, right? But you also have to build trust externally as well, especially if you, and this is my life prior to moving over to the client side, right? When you have clients that actually for those who are on the agency side, I know some of them are here listening in. When you have clients who actually trust that your creativity is not just art for the sake of art, but art that actually has an impact, and you have impact as your as your watchword, then they're eventually going to trust in your ability to take their brands or their products you get to the next level, right? Internally, I also had to work with my teams, and then foster collaboration, right, camaraderie amongst the team to make sure that, you know, because we creatives I always say it, I'm not even denying it, I'm part of it as well. We're a peculiar bunch. We can be very difficult to manage, you get, because we all have our individual belief systems, orientation, and creativity itself is subjective. So I had to show that I was pretty good at, you know, bringing people together and showing a level of leadership, right, even within my team structure and all of that, right. And then I think the last thing I pretty much had to do was just be more visible, right. I had to make sure. I'm a very quiet person, if you know me. I'm even surprised I'm speaking here now. I'm nervous as hell, but I'm actually a very quiet person, and it took a lot for me to actually start speaking up. A lot of times I'm more comfortable in the shadows, and I know a lot of people in the creative space are like that as well. They're more comfortable being in the shadows and everything. But the truth is, if you're so good, but you're still in the dark, how's anyone going to know? You know, the truth is you need to actually put yourself out there. If you're in meetings and all of that, that's what I did. I mean, I was brought into meetings where it was expected that people that were in higher stations than me would, you know, speak. And I made sure I contributed to the discussion, you get, and that's all part of building trust as well, right? And once you're able to build trust, you not only get people in stations above you to want to mentor you, but they actually see that you have the potential to lead. So they could actually transit from being just mentors to actually advocates and all of that. So in a nutshell, that was my journey. It wasn't an easy one, right? But these are pretty much, you know, in summary, the steps I had to take, you know, to get to my current level now. And I'm not done. I'm still rising. Thank you.
Hey. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know why it's so ironic that people, especially people that are in the comms space, are very introverted. Like it's so ironic. I'm like, why did I choose this role? Why did I choose this life? Every day I question my life choices. Like, I would rather be left alone. I'd rather be with a good book. I don't like talking in meetings. I hate speaking. I hate public speaking. I have butterflies in my stomach. I don't know why, but I think maybe there's just an innate talent that we have that just requires us to always be in front and to speak, even though we're very uncomfortable while doing it. But we tend to fake it very well. So one would never know that Yemi is actually a very quiet person. He's actually a very quiet person. And when he said we creatives are a weird bunch, it just took me back to when during the agency days when we would send creative briefs, you'd have gone to go and lie to your client and tell them that you can get this thing in 48 hours, and then you go and meet the art director and the copywriter and they're just laughing at you and telling you that who told you 48 hours? You cannot get this thing except in 1 week, and then there's fight. And so it's a very interesting space to be in. And yeah, all those things you just said, Yemi, are very true. You need to be visible, you need to speak up, you need to start thinking more strategically, especially as middle manager. So middle management is more like you're stuck in the middle. So you're still an individual contributor, but you're expected to also think strategically. You're in charge of operational stuff, but for you to move to the next level, you need to start thinking beyond day-to-day tasks that you need to tick off your to-do list. You need to start thinking about the big picture. You need to start thinking about how this particular thing is going to affect the overall business objective of the organization. And that's it's easier said than done, to be honest. It's a really difficult mind shift, but I think once you can crack it, it gets easier by the day. So I want to move back to you, Wendy. You've mentioned so many things that you had to do. Can you just share one of the biggest challenges that you probably faced when you were transitioning? I know I've just hinted at some of them, but could you just share one of the things that was a personal challenge for you that probably made it a bit more difficult? Because I want us to be as relatable as possible to anybody listening. What was one or two challenges that you faced when you were trying to do that mind shift that needed you to move to leadership?
I think the first thing that I would say, and this is entirely personal, but I'm introverted and potentially can be referred to as a little bit sensitive. And what that means for me is that sometimes the work, or what that meant for me was that the work wasn't always just about the work, because I'm very passionate about what I do. If you're a sensitive person, every time somebody gives you feedback, or most times when somebody, especially when it's somebody that you value their feedback, when they give you feedback, sometimes we can tend to internalize it more than we should, right? So something that I had to do very deliberately, by the way, was kind of transition my mindset into the general term I think that people use is a growth mindset, where you're receiving feedback and you know that, yes, maybe the work that I did was not amazing, or the work that I did, there was more room for it, but I know that I can do better. It's not a reflection of my person, and it's not a reflection of my worth. It's a reflection of the work. And so let's take a look at the work and do better at it. That level of sensitivity also made me averse to like going too in depth with reporting and stuff like that. And those like, you can't really get better if you don't review what you're doing, if you don't assess what you're doing, and if you don't take feedback on. And so I had to grow a thicker skin, basically. In order for me to be able to move forward, I needed to grow a thicker skin. So that's something that I'm mentioning and I'm sharing because I know that this is a Women's Day, Women's Month thing. And I know that sometimes women tend to be a little bit sensitive. It's something that you can definitely like learn. You can learn to be a little, because it's work. At the end of the day, right? Like, it's work. It's not life or death. Well, it can be, but you are not a medical doctor. So keeping that context in mind, knowing that it's not the end of the world, you're receiving feedback. If something wasn't done well this time around, you can make it better. There is room for improvement. There is always room for improvement, and you don't have to internalize everything. Everything doesn't have to be internalized. It makes you really slow, and it makes it really difficult for you to move quickly and take action that makes the work good. Because I think also because I'm a creative at heart, and so I would take everything to heart. But that was something that I had to learn. Basically, being a little bit more open to reviewing, being a little like, I'm the person that's like, let's assess what we've done so far. Let's assess if we're doing a good job. Let's see what other people are doing. Let's see what we can glean from them and stuff like that. So moving from that mindset into like it's the term I'm using is growth mindset. Just thinking there is always room for more. There's always room for me to do better. And it's not a negative reflection on me as a person. It doesn't take away from my own personal worth. So that's one of the challenges that I think that I had to really learn how to overcome. Another thing is communication, managing upwards. And I mentioned this before, but also knowing that when you get to a certain level in management, when you have direct reports, your job is not only to tell them what to do, your job is also to allow them to do the things they are going to do and just give them the vision, right? It's not your job to get everything done. It's not your job to tell them everything that they're supposed to do. You build processes, you tell your team what to do, you allow them to do what they are doing. If they fail, you give them feedback. If they don't fail, I think it's a bit of a luxury to say that, oh, you can fail and you'll be fine. Some people don't work in that kind of environment. So I am sensitive to that reality where some people don't work in the kind of environment where you can fail and fail fast and pick it up and keep it moving, right? But for those of us who work in the sectors where you are able to take some chances on people. That's how you kind of grow your team. So something that I also had to do was loosen up the reins on on defining the quality of my leadership by how much I'm getting done, as opposed to the environment I'm creating for my team to be able to get work done, and then giving them the guidance and removing the blockers in their way for them to be able to get the work done. One time I received feedback that, Wendy, you're really good at what you do. But the thing is that if I tell you that I want to deliver a bunch of stuff to 5 countries, you will pick those the things that so to deliver to 5 countries, and you will try and deliver all of them by yourself. But leadership is identifying 5 people that I can send to those countries, because it's a shorter amount of time for me to be able to get it to those countries and to get it delivered than for me to have to do everything by myself. So I think a little bit of ego was in the way before, and I had to work around my ego or defining myself by those things, and then knowing that your journey, when you get to a certain point in leadership, you're not the one doing the day-to-day grinding anymore. You're the one advocating for the team, advocating for budgets and utilizing budgets and approving what they're doing, telling them what to do and stuff like that. But you are not necessarily the one. And I'm always very keen and very particular that my team is getting the job done, so that I can praise them and give them as much credit as possible without standing in their way. Yeah.
So much, Wendy. Thank you. You see that one about us crying? It's only God that will help me. Because I am such a sensitive Susie. Like, if you critique my work, like as if you like, are you saying I'm dumb? Are you saying I don't know what I'm doing? Like, it's you have to really develop that thick skin. And I'm working towards it. I'm already working towards it. Like, as you said, there's nothing personal. This person doesn't hate you. It's just about the job. It's just the job. Nothing personal, nothing.
It's still a job.
It's a job. It's still a job. So yeah, you're very correct about that. Oyinka, do you have anything to say about that as well? What are your own challenges that you faced? Unique challenges to you that you had to face?
Thank you, Wendy, for your contributions. So I absolutely concur with everything that you've said. Especially, I think I'll start mine from speaking about just not wanting to do everything yourself. For me, sometimes I try to catch myself. No, you can't do everything yourself. You have to learn to delegate. I think a lot of people in middle management get sucked into that, wanting to do everything by yourself. So number one is learning to delegate, learning that you cannot get involved in the nitty-gritty of the work, but maybe more about thinking strategically. How can you support your team? How can you support your team members to get the work done and and get it done fast as well? I think that's the number one thing. For me, the second thing is is making sure that how to demonstrate credibility. How does your firm begin to believe in you that yes, Oyinka can do this? Demonstrating, how do you show that you're credible, that you can do it? I think it's by, consistently, putting yourself out there, making sure that, when there are tasks, to be completed, you are upfront and you're ready, you're committed, you're dedicated, you are intentional and deliberate about the things that you do. I think those things are really important. So I absolutely agree with you, Wendy, and I'm enjoying this conversation. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oyinka. So I'm going to just come back to you, Yemi. So I'm being very cognizant of time because I know you guys are very busy people. Coming from someone who is more, as you've already given us some insight, but I just want you to just dig a bit deeper. For other people who are introverts like you, what advice would you give them to position themselves to get noticed for leadership opportunities? Because it's easier said than done. Like, how do you position yourself that you've done the work, you're speaking up in meetings, you're doing everything that you need to do, but what are the other extra things that you can do to make sure that you get noticed for that possible leadership position? hear me? Did you hear me?
I think you're muted.
Can you guys hear me? Wendy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think Yemi is the one that is muted. Yemi, can you hear us?
I think his network is.
His network is messing up. We live in Nigeria. The network has been interesting of late, for lack of a better word. Okay. So let me just piggyback. Yemi, I know you're speaking, but we can't hear you. We can't hear you. So I think it's your network or something. I want to come back to you. So you started from corporate comms, and that's what I'm doing currently. And we all know that corporate comms plays a very key role in shaping leadership perception. My day-to-day jobs, my job now is trying to shape a narrative about my brand, not only about my brand, but even my leadership team. So I'm always trying to look for opportunities to position them as thought leaders in the space. I'm always looking for opportunities to position our brand as a front runner or a leader in the space. And these are learnings. It's very easy for me to do it for other people and other brands. But when it comes to me, I struggle with it. So how can middle managers leverage the already inherent skills that we have, the communication strategies that we're deploying for other people to position themselves for leadership roles? Because I know that's something I struggle with.
Don't we all struggle with the same thing? So I think that, for us already in that space, understanding that, communication is not just, internally. You also need to learn to, to present your brand, appropriately, to the outside world. So, I think being able to, understand that the internal and external stakeholders both matter. I think is the first, thing that you need to, you need to, understand. Understanding your public, so and making sure that you're able to position yourself, as a brand, to be widely acceptable. And I think that's some of the things that you need to do is just building yourself daily, your communication, making sure that it's clear, it's transparent, making sure that whatsoever it is that you're offering, the solutions that you're offering, it's actually solving a problem. You're creating impact, you're making impact. I think that's the most important thing. So just understanding all of this and trying to harness it, I think it's very, very critical just to help your personal brand. Understanding that you have a personal brand and you should represent that brand, present it well, so that others can buy into what it is that you're selling. I think we're all salespeople, so everybody's trying to sell something. I'm speaking to you today. I'm trying to sell my ideas to you. You're trying to sell me your ideas. So understanding that you are a brand and you want to sell your brand and make sure that others buy into it. I think that's the most important thing that we need to learn in order to position ourselves, our personal brands, and make sure that there's a way that it affects everything else that you do. That's it in a nutshell for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Onyeko. Hi, Emi. Can you hear us now? Are you back?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I was really trying to unmute, and Nigeria happened.
See, we know it happened to me to remember. So I before you left, because a lot of people are saying this particular webinar is happening during Women History Month, International Women's Month, and we have a man on our panel. And a lot of people are saying, why do you have a man on your panel? I was like, because I believe in equal opportunities, whether you're a man or a woman. And I think we should really stop with these gender wars. I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other. So as a man, what would you advise any professional? What are those things that you need to do to position yourself for that position of leadership? Like what, like from a like a man's perspective. We've mentioned the fact that women, we take things very personal, creatives, we take things very personal. I want you to give it to us the unvarnished truth from a male perspective. What do we need to do to position ourselves for leadership positions so that we are visible, we are known, and they consider us? What would you say?
Mhm. Okay, first of all, I agree with the last speaker, when she spoke about, building a brand for yourself, or at least being known. I don't know, I joined midway, so I don't know if I'm interpreting it properly, right? But essentially being known for something, you get. For me, I would like to say that you should, be seen. You should build yourself up to be seen as reliable, right? Someone that people both up and down the ladder can actually depend on, right? You should also, aside from the fact that I said, you should try and be visible, you should also be a bit more vocal to your line manager, right? And let your line manager know what, your aspirations are, right? Because if your line manager is aware that this is the career trajectory that you're aspiring for, right, then your line manager can actually help guide you on that path and, take you through the motions. And, I'll give an example. Where I am currently, I've noticed that, there are a number, in fact, a lot of the people on my team are top performers, right? Some of them are very extremely, high up when it comes to their performances and everything. And one thing that I did when I was trying to position them for bigger responsibilities or bigger roles, was to actually give them tasks that were beyond their current job descriptions. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't know that they were interested in actually growing. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to be this, I want to be that," and they just mouth it. You understand? But they don't actually understand or appreciate what it really takes for you to get to that level and all of that, right? So when they did tell me about this, and they said, "Hey, we want to know." They didn't actually come to me to say, we want to be in a higher position." They actually came to me to say, "How do you do what you do? How are you able to manage different people? How are you able to manage, your managers? How are you able to manage us? How are you able to ensure that, everything, the engine keeps running, right, despite all the kinks in the works and all of that?" And once they asked questions like that, I already knew where their mindsets were. So they say it's better to show than to explain. So rather than talk about what I did, I mean, I did do that. I actually expanded their responsibilities and gave them a little more than what they were supposed to, what they originally were meant to do. And some of them have actually proven themselves and have gotten promoted, both men and women. They've been promoted and all that. And for me, I'm all about impact. If you are impactful, not just in your ideation or your creativity, but you're also impactful within your team's ecosystem, right? Then I will definitely make sure that you have a level playing field, or an equal fighting chance to actually rise up the ladder. So I think that's what people need to do, right? You need to be a little more vocal about what your career aspirations are, right? And once your manager is aware of what your aspirations are, they'll definitely implement, strategies to help you along that path.
Thank you so much, Yemi. So now I have another question I want to ask, but I want to also just drill a bit deeper. So, you said be vocal and let your manager know what your aspirations are. And I think that can be, correct me if I'm wrong, that can be a double-edged sword. Don't you think? So if you say you want to be very vocal, so I also think because you are the kind of leader that you are, that's why you've taken that feedback and you took the actual necessary steps to help them get to the next level. You stretch them, you push them, you give them more added responsibility. But you and I know that there are some leaders that if you're very vocal and say, these are my aspirations, this is what I want, and you're willing to be visible and you're out there, how would you want somebody to navigate a leader that probably will not react so positively to that? Because that happens sometimes.
Do you want me to be diplomatic, or do you want me to be extremely honest?
I don't want you to be diplomatic. I want you to be honest. That's what I know you for, Yemi. Be honest, please. We're here for honesty.
Okay. The honest truth is, and it's a very hard truth, there is no point in you being in any organization that does not support your growth. There is no point, right? If your manager is not receptive to your growth and is not trying to figure out ways to grow the team, then I'm sorry, but you actually have a toxic manager who just feels who's just looking out for himself or herself and doesn't really give a hoot about you, right? And there's no future there. That's the honest truth, right? They say it's better to go where you're appreciated. As long as you know that you've put in the work, and it's not that you're just sucking up to your manager and kissing ass just so that, you can be favored, and then you're not getting the favor. If it's, as long as you're not kissing ass, right? I mean, I've told my managers too, I'm never going to kiss anybody's ass, right? As long as you're not kissing ass and you're doing what you're meant to do, and you're actually you're delivering results, you're delivering impact, the impact of what you're doing is being seen, you get, on the company or on the brand or whatever, right? Then the company does owe it to you to foster your growth, because you growing in that role can only be more beneficial for the company in the long run, right? But if a company has managers that stifle your development or your growth, right, you have no business being in that company. You got to look for another place. That's my honest answer. And anyone can disagree with me, to be honest.
I'm sure they don't. Does anybody who have anything to... I think you're just, from your mouth to God's ears, like, it is what it is. Wendy, you agree?
I want to offer another perspective where it's your boss that is the toxic one and maybe not the organization that is toxic. And in that kind of scenario, if you are able to transition to a different team, maybe there's obviously no guarantees, because this new boss that you'll be moving to may potentially also be toxic. But just in case the person is not able to move and leave the company entirely for whatever reason. But yeah, I was trying to think of a scenario where you tell your boss, hey, these are my aspirations, and your boss will be offended. But I don't really understand what the basis of the offense or annoyance from your boss would be on, right? Like, I don't really get why you'd be upset. Because people on my team tell me what they want to do all the time. Okay, hear me, your hands.
Yeah, I couldn't find the raising hand button on this, so I decided to do it manually.
He was raising his hand like, hello.
Okay, so I actually agree with you, right? And to be honest, I don't think, Toby, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Toby actually meant it that way, that, your manager would be offended, right? Or anything at all. Some people are they're just insecure, right? So when it comes to, I've experienced this, and that's why I'm speaking about it, right? On the agency side, it got to a point where, without bragging, I was actually seen as the go-to person. You understand? And my manager was a little scared.
Threatened.
And yeah, felt threatened. Doesn't make that person a bad person. It just makes that person human. You understand? Now, if you've tried everything to assure your manager, and make your manager see that you still hold him or her in high esteem and all of that, and the manager is still stifling your growth, well, if you can switch to another team that values your expertise, then by all means do that. But if there's no team that you can switch to, or you work in a very specialized role or function, right, then my honest advice is, if you're not going to grow, go to where the soil is fertile.
Thank you. Will it be okay if I just share the perspective on this?
Okay, yes, please go
Sure.
go in.
So
Go
I
in,
think I absolutely agree with both your perspectives, but I think that when things like that happen, I think it's also time for you to do like an inward reflection. So I'll share a personal experience. I was once in a role where I had some health issues, health challenges, and so I think that I was already when you're in a situation where you're supposed to be delivering results, but you're not able to because you have this health challenge, right? And it took a while for me to overcome the health challenge. And then subsequently, when I finally overcame it, I'd already been put in a box, as someone who wasn't really doing anything, who wasn't really able to deliver, wasn't able to, do you understand? So it was really difficult for me to then begin to show my managers that, no, I'm a different person now. I've been able to surmount this obstacle. And now, I'm ready to do this. So I think it's also, about building trust and being able to take yourself out of that box that you've been put in. So I think that there's you have to be really intentional about showing that, you're now able to, because no one really wants to give you a task that, you're not able to deliver on, especially if you've been seen as someone who, was not able to at some point in your career journey. So I think, it's not all negative. So maybe sometimes the boss actually has a valid reason for not trusting you with the role. So it's about, taking ownership, speaking up for yourself, making sure that you're seen, to be delivering results. So when that happens, it may take a while longer, but I think that, ultimately you'll be able to, communicate that, I'm a different person now. Things have changed, and, give me a chance and I can deliver. So maybe even offering to take on tasks that, you weren't doing before, just do it, and when they ask, who did this? Oh, Onyeka did it. Oh, really? Onyeka did that. Okay. Then they begin to watch you. They begin to, study you and think, okay, maybe we should actually, provide her with, a bit more because she's able to take on more responsibilities. So I don't think we should all take it as totally negative. But yes, if it is, if there's a toxic relationship, please speak up for yourself, offer to move to another department, offer to rotate within the organization. And if there's no headway, then I think you can call it a day.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I agree with everybody because there's really no right or wrong answer. It's never really black and white when it comes to things like that. I also think that a lot of people, a lot of us, we also need to understand that being in leadership comes with extra responsibilities and a different kind of pressure. And we also need to understand that these people that you look at as your leaders or managers or CEOs or CTOs are also human beings, and they are also fallible. They are also subject to emotions just like you are. They might look like as if they have it all together, but they also are going through certain things. And that's something that speaks up, because I actually had to do something like that when I was having that issue. And I was thinking, okay, Toby, let's talk to ourselves. Like, okay, this person, you're constantly clashing. There has to be a reason why. There has to be a reason why. Are you actually delivering at the optimal level that you should be delivering? Or are you just in your feelings because you feel this person is speaking on you? And I had to have that very cold conversation with myself. And then I realized, I said, you know what? I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to prove myself 150%. Now, after I have done all this and nothing changes, then I would be sure beyond all reasonable doubt that this person is just being toxic. And I think a lot of us just need to, it can be positive and it can be negative. It could be that the person is trying to actually stretch you and push you, but maybe the person is not going about it the right way. People have different ways they deliver stuff. Like, I know you can do better. Why are you doing this? So maybe the delivery sometimes might come across as toxic. And then there are some people that are just toxic. And there's nothing you can do about it. The person, there's some people, and when you know that this person is an equal opportunity toxicity distributor, you know, and then you just realize that, oh, I can't work with that person. Especially for us that are in very specialized niche. I don't. Why will I become a software engineer? I can't code to save my life. So it's either I'm in comms or I'm in comms. It's as simple as that. There's no that. I think the closest department that I can think I can work in, and because I've worked there before, is maybe sales and development. And that's also very high pressure. So at the end of the day, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So the decision is in your hand. As we Yoruba would say, the yam is in your hand, the knife is in your hand. You are the one that is going to make a decision. Will you stay or will you go? And what do you need to do to make the situation as enjoyable for you? But once you've come to that conclusion, that you've done everything within your power to grow, to rise, then you can now move. I also want to use this opportunity to ask our attendees, if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat box so that we can, our panelists can answer your questions. I want to ask Wendy one last question, personalized questions to herself. We work in fintech, and fintech is very fast-paced. to say the least. There's always something. And as a leader in this very unique space, you need to be very adaptable. You need to be able to be quick on your feet. Things are moving. How are you able? Because, and if all of us are saying we want to be leaders, we like the fancy titles. How do you navigate that change and uncertainty that is constant in this our industry, especially for us that work in fintech? It's always constant. How do you, as a manager, as a leader, manage that fast-paced situations, the adaptability, how you're able to think very quickly on your feet, make decisions quickly, move fast? How are you able to navigate and handle that?
I'm still navigating and handling. It. You ride the wave. That's what you can do, is you ride the wave. The thing that I'm doing differently, so when I first joined, oh my God, I was so overwhelmed. I was extremely overwhelmed. Within like my first year, I was just like drowning. Okay. I was like, it was like one thing after another. I didn't even have a team. I had like one person. It was like someone that was doing social media, and I was doing communications and branding and storytelling. And like that was it. So yeah, I was very, very, very overwhelmed. One of the first things that I did was obviously advocate for additional team members that started joining my team, I think after like 2 years. But within the first year, what the The only thing I can say in that kind of scenario is like, if you feel overwhelmed, if it feels like it's constant and it's never ending, do what you can, the best that you can, but you are probably not going to be able to meet the pace of the company. And what I mean by that is like, because it's not humanly possible to. So try your best to do as much as you can, but on that, like, so if you're handling, so you can't handle, like, what's that thing about glass balls? Like, you can't handle, everything cannot be a glass ball. Everything cannot, like, if I drop it, it breaks, right? You have to prioritize. And when you're prioritizing, then do the best you can in your priority stuff. The glass balls that you have to handle, do the best you can in them. And then the plastic balls and, you know, the soft balls that you can drop and stuff like that, try and find a way to give them time. Also try and be as communicative as possible. Okay, you've given me this as this task, or this has come up. I'm going to work on this and I'm going to channel my energy into this. It means that I'm deprioritizing A, B, C, D, E. I will get to it and I will not be able to meet the deadline for A, B, C, D, E. So that's the first thing. Obviously, in a situation where you're able to have more people on your team and then share the workload, you can do that as well. I will also say be very intentional about resting if you can. I'm supposed to be on leave today. But but what what I mean by that is you can take, so I think leaders are better when they have some time to think. Okay. You are more emotional. Somebody talked about emotional regulation. Leaders need to be more emotionally regulated. Someone said more emotional intelligence in the Q&A section. You cannot be emotionally regulated if you are feeling wired, there's too much, you're overwhelmed, you're this, you're that. In a crisis situation, is different, where you have a crisis and all hands are on deck and you have to do the work, right? After that, you as a human being, so let's go back to the fact that you are a human being. You need to rest. You need to reset. And you cannot get out of it. You must take time to rest. You need to sleep. You need to eat right. You need to work out. Oh, that's one thing. You need to exercise. You can't get out. You can't be emotionally regulated if you do not exercise, because exercising brings you into the present, and then grounding yourself in the present keeps you emotionally regulated. I'm obsessed with these things and this stuff. Okay, I have a background in psychology, so that's where all of this passion comes from. But if you work in a high paced or fast paced environment, go at the pace of the company, try as much as possible, but recognize the fact that you're a human being. Manage people's expectations. You are not always going to be in crisis mode, and you can't always be in crisis mode. Okay, communicating expectations and managing people's expectations is what's going to get you to at least give yourself a breather. If you are able to be intentional about rest, so in a time where you are able to take a day off, 2 days off, I need to just take some time, I need to sleep, I need to rest, I need to think. Okay, please do that. You need to exercise. You need to communicate with your team and give them as much information as possible to get their job done, so that you are not micromanaging everything and they're not calling you every 5 seconds. Hey, I'm stuck here. I need to get this done, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to like move it for them because they don't have enough context into the work and the task that they're working on. You just have to recognize where you're at. I think it's really, so when I first joined, I used to be like, oh, it's just a busy season right now, and we're gonna, calm down after, like, after a while when we get into the groove of things. The busy season is forever. The busy season is the culture. The busy season is by nature of the company. You're not gonna get out of it. So accept the reality of where you are at in the company that you're at. If it's fast-paced, accept that. Take some time to rest for yourself. It's not going to be the end of the world. And then another thing is, like, when you now do take the time to rest, make sure that things are in order so that you're not feeling guilty. You're not wasting your rest time, feeling bad. Oh, I just feel so bad. I just can't rest. I can't put my mind at ease because there's so much to do. Then you're wasting your time. You're wasting everybody's time. You're wasting your rest time. You're wasting everybody's time. You might as well go back to work. So, the thing is, I would say acknowledge where you're at, try as much as possible to take care of your body, your physical being, eat right, work out, stuff like that. Try and emotionally regulate yourself, try and rest. And then also delegate. And then when your team comes to you, this is important as a leader. When your team comes to you and says, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted, be the human and the leader that you wanted to have when you were a direct report, and give them space, give them time, give them half a day to rest. Say, okay, I can afford for you not to work today. Take the time you need. Take the time you need to rest. When they go above and beyond, when somebody has worked and they've worked over something for like a month and they've worked every weekend, they've worked nights, they've worked midnight, stuff like that, acknowledge the amount of effort and sacrifice. They are doing their job, but at the same time, we're all human beings. Yeah, that's everything off the top of my head. I got very passionate there, but yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I can see the passion was oozing. I don't know why everybody's just like, everywhere I go with exercise, I was feeling like as if you were just like shading me. Like when you were saying that exercise, I was like, this is like the third or fourth person that's telling you in a month you need to exercise. I really need to start doing better with that. So yes, thank you. And then just to wrap everything that you said, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you need to replenish, you need to rest. You always need to rest because we're human at the end of the day. As you said, there's never a rest time. There's always high season. There's always busy seasons. Adulting, there's never a rest time. Even if you're not stressed about work, there are other things outside work that are calling for your attention. So there's really never a downtime if you're an adult. So you just have to find a way to balance and make sure that you rest. So we have some questions in the chat box. And Onyeko, I want you to go to take a crack at this. My question is, how much visibility is allowed within the confines of one's current workspace? So this person wants to know that how much visibility is not too much visibility if you're saying you want to push yourself out there.
Thank you very much. Fantastic question. I think that, you need as much visibility as you can get. I think that you need to make yourself, don't be in people's faces, I wouldn't say, but you need to be seen. There's a saying that, in the work that I do, that administrators need to be seen working and not really talking. So so forget the talk, but, let people see you, be active, be, speaking up for yourself, be offering yourself, offering to do things. Let everyone know that you are capable, that they can trust you, that you're reliable, that you're dependable. But whilst doing that, I absolutely agreed with Wendy, what she said about, prioritizing your health, your mental health, really important. But, you need as much visibility as you can get. And, if it's available, please make use of it. Don't be one of those people that say, I used to be like that, I do a lot of work, but I like to be in the background. I don't really like to let people know that I'm doing this, but no one, how will people know what you're doing if you do not let them know that you're doing it? So I think it's important that you take advantage of that. It's important that you use as much, make yourself visible and take it, own it, work on it, use it. It's your right. You need to use it. Don't put it in the background. Please make use of it. It's very important. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Onyeko. I want to ask Yemi, someone dropped, what role does mentorship, advocacy, and networking play in career advancement? Mentorship, advocacy, networking. I think we've answered this question, but just to reiterate for the person that asked the question, and if we could just keep it very short, mentorship, advocacy, and networking. I think it's a trifecta actually, but you can take a crack at it.
All right. Thanks for that. Another brilliant question. So I see them as stages. Now, these are very, very important. These are very important things to consider or to have when you're trying to, rise in your career trajectory. Right. First and foremost, they say no man is an island. Sorry, no person is an island, right? So what that means is you can't make it on your own. No matter how independent you think you are, right? You're never as strong as a group of people who who are focused on one goal. There's something that, one of my mentors told me. He said, your circle of influence should consist of people who are better than you, because that way you're actually able to aspire to be like them, right? You learn their ways of how they did what they did to get to where they are and all of that and everything. But how do you even get to meet these people in the first place if you don't network, right? And I know that for a lot of people, especially creatives, right, we're very shy, right? We're very reserved. We can possibly go to a club, and while everybody is going, we are the ones that are just there looking, watching, and we tell ourselves we're studying people and we're analyzing behavioral patterns. You get, but the truth is we need to get out there and we need to network. We need to attend more of these seminars or networking events that are critical to your role or your career, right? So that you can meet the right people. Now, when it comes to mentorship, if there's one thing that has really helped me in my my time as a creative director, because I've been a creative director for a number of years now, right? It is the experience I had with one of my ex-creative directors, right? And that is the person of Femi Kayode, right? And I'll always reference him. Why? Because he, without saying it or without saying, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be a creative director, he actually showed me what it meant to, lead a team. You get. Now, leading a team doesn't necessarily mean that you're the nicest person in the room, but you are a good person. You have your people, you have the emotional intelligence to understand your team's emotional states at different points in time, and you are able to react to it accordingly. You're able to understand when one person needs to wind down and another person needs to gear up. You understand a lot of things, right? His own style of leadership was not share. His style of leadership was he'll roll up his sleeves, and dive in with you. You understand? So you never actually felt alone. So then remember those days when, work would keep you in the office till like maybe 9 p.m., 10 p.m. And then the thing that gave you the work is lounging at home. You understand? Like the person that made you stay back the office, then you'd now have to go and stand at the stop in the dark all alone, waiting for bus. The person that made you go through that would be lounging at home. You understand? But this was not what I experienced with this guy. If we were late, if we had stayed late at the office, he would be there as well. So we never actually felt alone. And because I experienced that, right, it's changed my perspective of how a leader should actually lead, not from the back, but actually from the front. You get, and guide people, to, I was going to say an expected end, sorry, but guide people towards the common goal, of the company. Now, it's okay to have, a mentor, right? Whether internally inside the company or outside the company. I know some companies have actually instigated or created these body policies. You get, where as a new person, you're assigned a body, you get, who's meant to like take you through and mentor you. So mentors actually just tell you how to do certain things and show you the ropes.
Yeah.
But then there is one more level. There's one more level. That's advocacy. And advocacy really requires that you have somebody that is your staunch supporter that has so much faith in you, you get, in your ability to deliver in a high role or more responsibilities, this person can actually put your name forward when it comes to it's time for promotions or anything. This person can actually put your name forward and actually defend you and say, even in your absence, and say, hey, no, I trust this person. I believe this person can handle this role. So that's why I agreed with the last speaker when she said, right, it's all about building trust and showing how reliable you are to the company, to your managers and all of that. Because if you don't show that as one of your traits or one of your biggest traits, the chances of anybody advocating for you are slim. So yeah, I hope with these few points I have not confused whoever.
No, you haven't. You haven't. You haven't. So I am very I have 5 minutes to wrap up. As in, I'm so sorry, guys. The questions that are being dropped, I'm so sorry, but we will not be able to take it. But I want to believe that there will be opportunities for you to send your questions, and then we can share it with the speakers, and they can answer at their own leisure. But we also have to be very conscious of time. To wrap things up, I just want to ask you guys one more question, and if you can just give me your answer in 60 seconds or less, that would be fantastic. Can each of you, I'll start with you, Yinko, give us one key action that middle managers should take to accelerate their journey to leadership? One key action. We'll start with you, Yinko, then we go to Wendy, then we wrap up with Yemi. You're on mute, Yinko.
Apologies. Okay, for me, one important thing will be making impact. I think that real leaders, you lead by example. Just showing, demonstrating that you have leadership qualities, demonstrating to others. I loved what you said earlier on about the man that makes you stay out late or stay at work late, is there with you, so you don't actually feel alone. I think, leading by example, making sure that, as you're rising, you're also, holding other people's hands. I think that's one key action that we need to do as women, especially, making sure that there's somebody that you're mentoring, there's somebody that you're pulling up as you're moving upwards. I think it's really critical, and it's very important that we do that. So that's one key action, making sure that as I'm moving forward, there's somebody else that, that is coming with me, or that is, coming behind me. Making sure that, as women, there's no bickering, there's no one is going to steal your shine. You don't shine by making sure that other people's, light is dimmed. I think that would be what I would say. 60 seconds has gone. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hi, Wendy. So one key action that you tell middle managers to take
is take care of your whole self. Let me rush through that. You are a physical being, you are a spiritual being, and there is the mental side of things as well. So your physical part, your spiritual side, and your mental side. Take care of those three. Nurture your creativity. And then, so there's not one key action, I guess it's many actions, but invest in personal development as well. If you do all of those things, it will reflect in the other things that you're doing.
Yeah, fantastic. And you, Yemi? One key action.
Okay, so one key action that people can take is, you see, everything that Onyeka and Wendy said, they should listen to them. They should listen to them.
I knew that's what you were going to say. They should do it.
They should do it.
Yes.
They're very valid. They're extremely valid. You get, I will still mention this thing again about visibility, because in as much as it's it presents a 50-50 case, right? Or a 50-50 scenario. It is still important for you to be seen. You get, it is important for you to be heard. it is important for you to be appreciated for what you can do. Because if you are not seen, right? I mean, they say, "Who no go, no go, no." You understand? So you just and say, "Oh, my boss will threaten me or whatever." With due respect, take that thought. Take that thought to them first. Be more visible, and then whatever bridge. But with what we and Wendy, please, you guys listen to them wholeheartedly. I agree. 60
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Yes, it's up. But thank you so much. This has been a very, very insightful conversation, real, candid, raw, just as I promised and just as I envisioned. Thank you guys so much for your time. Before I wrap up, I have a quick special announcement. So this webinar, our first ever webinar by I and Joy, has been proudly sponsored by the Nigerian FinTech Association. And in celebration of International Women's Day, they're offering an exciting opportunity for women to join the association at 75% off their professional membership fees. So throughout the month of March, it ends on the 31st, you can get 75% off. That means that you get to pay 5,000 Naira instead of 20,000 Naira to become a member. And what does this give you? This is all part of being visible, networking, joining as many associations as possible. You have a powerful professional community to tap into. You have exclusive industry insights. You have mentorship and growth opportunities within the fintech ecosystem. And I would encourage any lady who is on this call to take advantage, and before it ends on March 31st. Simply visit our social media pages for more information about that. And if you have any further questions, if I didn't answer your questions, please send us a DM either on Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn at the Ascent Series on any of the social media pages that I mentioned. So once again, thank you guys so much for your time. I'm really, really stoked. I had a fabulous time. Thank you for everybody joining our session. Once again, please remember to follow us and remember to do these 3 things. These are my own final action points: rise, lead, and thrive. Over to you, Joy.
We shared the same action points. So rise, lead, and thrive. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Inko. Thank you, Yemi. Thank you, Wendy. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.